Hello and welcome to another faction difficulty rating for Mortal Empires. Today we're going to be discussing the Thousand Maws, led by Rakarth. First, we'll discuss the race effects of the Dark Elves. They can recruit Black Arcs, which are powerful naval units that can replenish forces, recruit units, and provide bombard attacks for nearby battles. There's a slave economy that provides bonuses to income at the cost of public order. And Dark Elves receive Murderous Prowess in battle, which increases combat bonuses when enough enemies are killed in that battle. In terms of faction effects, the Thousand Maws has access to monster pens to capture beasts, including some from other factions that are instantly recruitable. They receive no vigor penalty from raiding, and there's reduced upkeep on monster units. For his legendary lord bonuses, Rakarth grants extra melee defense for monster units in the army and reduced recruitment duration for monster units to that army. The rating system I use is fairly simple. 10 is perfect, 5 is pretty standard, and 1 is pretty bad. Theoretically, high numbers are good for beginner players and lower numbers are way more difficult. First up, we'll rate the start. In terms of infrastructure available, I'm going to give him a 4. He gets a tier 2 minor settlement with a unique valuable port, which adds some recruitment. In terms of mobility, I'm going to give him a 4 here too. Albion is easy enough to move through, and even crossing around water here isn't too bad because you can get early help from a Black Arc. In terms of starting units, Rakarth gets Greatsword Shades, a War Hydra, and a Reaper Bolt Thrower, as well as a Beast Sorceress. So I'm going to give him a 10. These are top tier Shades, which are one of the best Dark Elf units, and a War Hydra, which is one of the best monsters in the Dark Elf roster, partially because of the regen, which is so good early game. And artillery is always really strong. In terms of starting battles, I'm going to give him a 4. I personally find it easiest to auto-resolve, which means less experience, but it is a pretty standard battle there. Average the scores out, and Rakarth's starting score is a 5.5. Overall, it's a pretty average start, but the top tier starting units really help you advance. Next, we'll rate the timing of advancement. In terms of province completion, I'm going to give him an 8. It's very quick to get all of Albion and maximize the value of slaves. In terms of availability of a sack city, I'm going to give him a 1. Here, I find it more valuable to complete the province and move on than stay around and sack to level up your lord and hero. The closest reasonable sack city is going to come after you hit Marienburg, or somewhere around there, which realistically is kind of on the late side. In terms of stack completion, I'm going to give him a 10. Collecting monsters and not waiting for recruitment means you can field a full army very quickly. In terms of power of stack completion, I'm going to give him a 9. You're getting monsters early game that fit into your army. It's hard to argue with the power of a big monster stack. The only reason it's not a 10 is the monsters you get don't always mesh together well, so you can't really plan your army. Average this out and his advancement score is a 7. This is one of the easiest campaigns to advance quickly and power up since you don't have to wait for growth to get strong units. Next, we'll rate the comfort zone. In terms of timing of enemy elimination, I'm going to give him a 6. It's pretty easy to deal with the Norskins, and Marienburg isn't too bad. The trouble is, if you declare war on Reichland prematurely, you can run into trouble. In my guide, which I've linked here, Reichland stacked 3 armies right next to Marienburg, so I just picked them off one by one, which means that I took care of Reichland very quickly. But I'm sure it's not always like that, so you have to be a bit careful. In terms of timing of sustaining additional armies, I'm going to give them a 5. Technically, Black Arcs can be additional armies, but they are limited on where they can go, so I usually just have one following a proper army for the buffs. So recruiting an additional army with a regular lord comes at about the same time as other factions. In terms of timing of a finisher stack, he's going to get a 10. You can get a ton of strong monsters so quickly that your finisher stack comes early. You might switch some of these monsters out as you go on, but you'll be able to do it on the go to keep your strength up. In terms of timing of safety from neighbors, I'm going to give him a 3. You're going to end up at war with Reichland eventually, and that's always a challenge because they tend to confederate everybody around that area. Average his comfort zone score out and he gets a 6. Your ability to just keep moving and get stronger as you do means that you should feel pretty comfortable, and ideally be the one choosing your next enemy rather than being on the defense. Average all his scores out and he gets a 6.2. This is actually a pretty easy campaign. Dark Elves have the strongest early game economy to sustain the crazy monster armies you're gonna have here. While you could potentially get stuck if you're slow playing Rakarth, I find if you keep him on the go, it's actually a very easy campaign. Some additional notes on the 1000 Maws. In terms of Confederation, you're going to want to confederate Karen Carr as soon as it's available, or you might lose that option. Plus, it gives you vision of the other Dark Elves, and Confederation there shouldn't be too bad if you gain strength quickly. In terms of rights and abilities, Sacrifice to Mathlan, where Dark Elves get access to Black Arcs, is always worth it. Black Arcs are so powerful. Convocation of Hunters to get extra beasts doesn't cost you anything directly, and it gives you a choice of what you have to spend, so I'd recommend it whenever you feel like you potentially have some extra money or slaves to spend on that option. Special strategies to think about when playing the 1000 Maws. I like to rush to Marienburg and get rid of them quickly, and from there eliminate Reichland. Your quick gain in strength and ability to recruit on the go is really going to help reduce enemies declaring war on you, so you want to be on top of that. My summary of the 1000 Maws led by Rakarth. CA has been doing a great job with these FLC lords lately. Rakarth is a really unique playstyle that is super strong if you want, but you can choose whatever playstyle you want. His isolated start means that you have a choice to just kind of hang out if you want. But that's going to be it for my difficulty rating of the 1000 Maws led by Rakarth. If you like this and you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. You know how YouTube works. Goodbye.